Oh, was I not recording?
Hi, I'm Josh. You're gonna edit that in this out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready to be part of the Air Force. You ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Brayden and I am back with another video. Today Josh is going to join me and we're going to be talking about his 1 year in the Air Force. So that anniversary was the 24th of September, and we're just going to be going over all of our experiences this year, what we've learned, and yeah, all that good stuff. So if you are a military significant other, and you're just starting your journey, this video might be helpful for you to kind of hear our experiences and how things happen for us. And so also we want to be able to look back on it in our later years. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Hey guys, so I have Josh here and he's super not in the mood for this video. So we'll see how that goes. I definitely want to do like a BMT survival spouse guide where I'll go into more details. So if you have any questions about that, drop it down below, and I will answer it in that video whenever I do it. But we'll just kind of talk generally about that experience. So for me, I had Caroline. So I had a 2-year-old. No, she wasn't even 2 at the time. She was like a 1.5 years old. And I obviously was at home with family and friends, which is helpful. And I was finishing up my last semester of college when he left. And so I really just kind of kept myself busy and distracted. And it wasn't that hard for me. And I think it's just because I'm an out of sight, out of mind kind of person. And I just kept myself really preoccupied with all the things that I had to do. And that's really not the case for everybody. A lot of people, it's a lot harder. It's a lot more emotionally consuming, and I definitely get that. I'm not special in any way because it didn't affect me. I just coped differently. So for me, basic training wasn't, when he went, it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. I just kept busy. But one thing that we both found out early on is that the communication was not that great. So sometimes, like, I'm sure it depends on branch as well, but for Air Force anyways, sometimes you get an MTI that is a bit more lenient on communication, like giving you time to write letters, giving you time to make phone calls, those types of things. And you didn't really have a very lenient MTI. So the last phone call I got from him was at the airport before he got his phone taken. And the worst part of it is he thought when he arrived in San Antonio, since we're only from Oklahoma, it wasn't that far of a flight. And so he arrived and they're waiting for all the other people from everywhere else to arrive. And he's like, I've got like 5 hours, you know, I have plenty of time to talk to you. I'm gonna go get food and I'll talk to you later. So, you know, we thought we had so much time, and then I get a call from him and I can hear yelling in the background at the airport. It hadn't even started yet. And he's like, they're taking my phone. I'm here. I love you. I gotta go bye. And I was just like, what the heck? And then I didn't hear from him for 2 weeks. So I didn't get a letter. I didn't get a phone call. I got a text message the next day with his address from him, but he couldn't, you know, he just sent that really quick and then that was it. So that was really the first introduction we had to all of this, and that was really hard. So how was that for you on your end?
So yeah, like what you said, it was definitely, I wish it's something I kind of like, was more prepared for, and I had like a more hands-on experience with, because I had thought, you know, it was still going to be so far down the line, because I heard rumors that you don't actually get to Lackland for basic until nighttime, and it was only like 5 in the afternoon, and I was at this airport, and I was like, I'll call you later, you know, because I was eating, and I was you know, meeting other people that were going to basic with me and stuff, and there was a lot going on. I thought there would be a good gap, but then I went down this escalator with everybody, and there's like this MTI, and I was like, oh crap, this is
Here we go.
This is exactly what's happening. And we all had to line up, and we had backpacks, and he said, pull your phones out and call your loved ones and just tell them you made it. And yeah, that was it. That was that phone call. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we didn't have as much contact, and like I talked to other spouses, like girlfriends and stuff, and they've had a lot more contact at Basic, so don't let that scare you. But for us, we just didn't get a lot of contact. He didn't have a lot of time to write letters. He didn't have a lot of time to read the letters that I was sending. I still sent a letter every day, no matter what. But, you know, it kind of really registered in my mind. I don't know about you, but it really hit me like, this is like a for real thing. Like, it like I said, it wasn't as hard for me because I just buried myself in the things I had to do. You know, I had a kid that I had to raise. I had college I had to finish. So I was distracting myself with that, but at the same time, like not hearing from him for 2 weeks was really hard. And I knew he was safe, but in my mind, I'm like, I thought I was gonna hear from him a lot more than I did. And I think over the course of the whole 8.5 weeks he was there, I think I only got 3 or 4 letters. I think so. So it is what it is. I mean, we made it through it, but you know, I wish I had known that. I could have probably prepared a bit better, knowing that there was a possibility of not having a lot of communication. But that was really all that was on my mind, but I'm sure you had a lot more going on at Basic than just that.
Yeah.
If you want to reflect on Basic a little bit, which we've done that already, but if you want to reflect any over Basic.
The whole like not getting a letter thing for 3 weeks, I don't know, I just kind of embodies the whole you can't be prepared for anything in the military. This is just like the first example of it for me, was because, you know, we were supposed to be able to send letters sooner, but our MTI just wasn't a huge fan of us. It's a flight, so we got punished a lot, and it took us like 3 weeks before we were able to send a letter out. And you know, there's no way to prepare for that, you know what I'm saying?
You don't know what you're gonna get. So then through Basic, you know, that we may make another video about just Basic because that's a lot to unpack, especially on his end. But graduation came, and it was so much fun to like see him and to see like the people he had been with that whole time, and to see him in uniform for the first time. It was definitely a really cool experience, but it was a stressful experience. But I am not going to complain too much about that because there are so many people, because of the pandemic, that didn't even get a graduation in person. So we were blessed. No matter how much stress it was, we were so blessed to have had that experience, because literally within four or 5 months after he graduated, not even that, less than that, they shut down graduations because of the pandemic. So we got really lucky to have that opportunity to be together in person for that. But for me, basic training graduation, I knew that it was 3 days. You know, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 4 days. And I kind of had an idea of the schedule from being in Facebook groups and stuff, but I really didn't understand how much time like ticks by. Like, it was like we had family and friends and like so many people there, and I was like, I felt like we were constantly going and going and going, and like all he wanted to do was rest, like sleep in a bed that wasn't like this thin with 50 other dudes, you know, like he just wanted to relax. He wanted to like eat food, like real food. And we kind of packed down our weekend, and I think that took away from it. And I had it in my mind that we would go like sightseeing and that's rich, because the only thing we saw was the hotel room, because it was like tired, naps, he was tired, Carol was tired, everybody needed naps. So I think like that was a huge like thing that I wasn't prepared for, was how quick basic training graduation weekend goes by. And I feel like you felt that, especially since you were having to be ran around so much.
Oh, definitely. We didn't even so you're given 2 days to leave base, but you can get a third day too if you get a like excellence in your flight, or if you get Warhawk, which means you just did like really good in PT, pretty much like got 100 on your score. But we didn't get that. I didn't get it. But so yeah, we had to stay on the Air Force Base that third day on that Sunday, and that wasn't too fun, but
yeah,
definitely made it feel shorter.
Yeah, so basic graduation week, like I said, we may talk more in depth about that, but I mean, all in all, I think it was a good experience. I really hope and pray that they'll open that up for people soon to have an in-person graduation, because it's quite the experience. The best advice I have for that is don't pack it down with too many things, because you're really going to want to just sit and talk and relax and hang out. So yeah, if you are wanting to sightsee, come to San Antonio. If you're in Air Force, Lackland, come a little earlier and sightsee before graduation, before your spouse or your significant other is done, because they're just not going to be in the mood for it, and they ain't going to have the time for it, and you're not going to want to do it anyway. So that's definitely a lesson learned for us, but we ended up being here for a whole year. Well, yeah, a whole year for you, a little longer than that. Hi! What do you think? Anything you want to add about Daddy being in the Air Force? Mm-hmm. Tell the camera, what do you think about Daddy being in the Air Force? Yeah?
That's what I was thinking. So, when you get to tech school from basic, it's definitely a bit of a culture shock, because when you're in basic training, you get to the point where, like, after the first week, you're just ingrained to be, like, super military, and everything's real, like, I don't even know how to explain it, just real stiff, like robotic, basically, and
you're a part of a unit, you don't think for yourself.
You're like scared to, like, talk to anybody with, like, more stripes than you. Like, you feel like you literally, like, walked through a portal into a different universe or something.
Yeah.
And this is, like, the way of life now. But then you get to tech school, and, like, no one really, like, warns you that it's more lax, because in basic training, like, and they make it sound like everything's just real, like, rigid, but
yeah, very military.
So you show up and you're real stiff, and everyone's like, calm down, like,
you're bald.
Yeah, I'm bald, and I literally, one of the students in student leadership was, like, taking us to the DFAC, and I asked him if I could use the restroom while I was eating, and he's like, "You're a human being, like, go use." I was like, what? I'm a person. But yeah, and so when you first get there, it's like it's really odd, because you're kind of learning how to, like, readjust to, like, real life again, and it's really just starting to figure out that balance between, like, being in the military, but then also, like, living as a normal person.
Yeah, and like, I thought when you got to tech, I was like, okay, yes, I finally am gonna have phone calls and FaceTime and text messages. Like, I'm gonna get to talk to him all the time now. That didn't happen. I was like, boy, I haven't heard from you all day. And he's like, I'm busy. I have this and that and this and that. And they have, like, you guys have, like, a ton of, what do they call it? Things where you have to go to like, in processing stuff.
Right. So,
like, constantly having things that, to tell them about this and that and the other. And, and obviously all tech schools are, they're challenging, like, in their own ways. And so, getting into that academic setting, and getting used to that took you time, and they have to walk everywhere. They don't have cars and stuff yet, so they're walking everywhere. If you're Army, you're rucking everywhere. Like, there's just a lot to it, and, like, you think you're gonna have a lot more free time, and then you just don't. And, like, for me as, like, a spouse, I had a bit of a hard time getting that. Like, I kind of blamed him a little bit. Like, hey, like, why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you calling me? Why are you so tired? And so I think that's just something I didn't really understand. But, once we kind of got into, I spit a little. Once we kind of got into the groove, and, like, you got your schedule down, and I kind of learned it, and I kind of realized, like, hey, this isn't a walk in the park. This is still his job. This is still his career. It's not over yet. He's still in training. And kind of, like, refocused on that. I think things got better, and it was still more communication than what we had been used to anyway. Yeah. So definitely an adjustment period. You know what I mean? Like, it's an adjustment period. Also, I think this is something I feared for basic. Like after he got through, I was like, what if he's different? Like what if he's not the same person? Like I know they're not going to war or anything, but you know, I'm thinking like, okay, I know that they're breaking him down. They're building him up to be this collective military mind. It's Air Force, so it's not like it's that intense, but like I still, in my mind, I was thinking like, how different is my husband gonna be? And I will say that there are differences. Like he did come back a bit different, but it was better. I mean, I felt like you'd grown a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You felt like more proud, you know, and like eager to get into the career and things like that. And so there were changes, but they were all, I think, positive changes.
Yeah, no, I'd say so. I think, you know, not to like track back on basic, but just like, it's because we just did things, you know, like it was just constant. It was almost like a new appreciation for like life. Like you know, you enjoyed like the smaller things and time with your family more because it just sucked. I mean,
yeah, you said
it was
that
just wake
you
up
weren't taking
and
me for granted as much.
Right.
Sissy.
Yeah, it wasn't just like wake up, march, get yelled at, clean, sit in the classroom, eat, just, you know, rinse and repeat for 2 months. But yeah, I think it just kind of helps build you and make you more like mature, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, definitely
like,
more mature. Like you know, one thing with Josh is, and I'm sure it's true for a lot of guys and girls, you join fairly young when you're young, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Josh was a bit older, but we had gotten married when he was 19. I was 21. Yeah, I was 21. I had been living on my own for about 2 years. And he hadn't. He moved straight from his parents' house to with me, and so he didn't really know what it was like to be responsible in the sense that I had experience. And I think women just kind of mature faster than men anyways. And so I think like we had been living for 2 years as a, you know, pretty much married couple, and we had a kid and all that. But he still kind of lacked in the responsibility aspect of life. And so I think that was a huge change. It's like you had so much more responsibility on you, which was stressful, but like I feel like you came back so much stronger from that, like becoming like your own person and having to like handle things without me. You know what I mean? And so I think that was super helpful and beneficial for you. But I think one of the most stressful parts about early days in tech school was getting me moved here, which a lot of people aren't going to have to do that. So I think that's that's definitely a plus. But if you are moving to your spouse's tech school on orders, I will have a whole nother video for you because that is a task. It's not even just a task for the spouse, it's a task for him, it's a task for everybody, because it doesn't happen often. But that was a lot of stress. He had so much paperwork to do on top of being new to tech school. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing to PCS. I had to do it alone. Anyway, I'll do a video on that because that's a thing. But you know, once we got past that, it took me like 2 months to move here. So he arrived literally the week before Thanksgiving, and then I got here into January, and so we didn't have too big of a gap apart from his tech school. And when I got here, life got like so much better. It was like for me and for him to be reunited again. That made things a lot easier. Yeah,
for sure. It kind of felt like things were getting like normal again, and I'm sorry, I just break my
He's like losing his focus, y'all.
This is necessary today, 100%. But yeah, it just kind of to talk about like the transition again, like there's just a lot on your plate when you get to tech school, and just like you were saying earlier, that's why there was kind of like a struggle with communication, because I forgot to mention earlier, like you kind of trade in between basic and tech school. You kind of trade the stress of being so micromanaged and having people breathing down your neck, like the MTIs, telling you what to do, having everything taken from you. You get all that back in tech school, but now it's like, well, these things, you have more responsibility, and it's up to you to get
And
it
nobody
done.
really tells you what to do or holds your hand through it.
Because it's like, and it never was an issue for me, but I know people struggle with it, like class dates. Like, you know, you can be sitting in your dorm and you're like, okay, you have to get up for this, like, formation or this class at these times. If you don't wake up, you don't go.
Yeah.
It's on you. I mean, you're just in trouble at that point. And a lot of people, mess up in tech school. Like, there's a lot of people that get in trouble because they get that freedom.
It's such a big jump from no freedom to all the freedom. Well, not all, but a lot more. But yeah, I feel like, so like I said, it's not common to move to your spouse's tech school. So that might not be the transition that you're getting as like being able to move to their tech school. But definitely like when you do PCS together and you're operational, it's still kind of the same. We're finally together, we're finally, whatever, and all that stress that you had from not being together kind of melts away. But I think that it got better, things got better, and I was able to support him more. And like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I have a lot more time, to, cook, clean, and kind of take care of the things here for him. And so for me, I felt like I was able to help and support him in that way.
As I am here longer, I just kind of am getting more eager to leave. Especially since the other day I ran into a guy who I came here with from basic, who only had like a 3-month tech school, and he's already been in the actual Air Force for like 7 months now.
He's stationed here.
Yeah, he's stationed here. That's why I ran into him. But I'm still like held under these like standards as like a new guy, and
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like a complication we face, just because like he's not living in the dorms. He's not like a typical tech school student. Like, he's got his wife and his kid here. Like, you've got a whole family here, and so the parameters and the rules are fit for new airmen in the dorm, whereas that's not really our scenario. But again, I feel like that's really just specific to us and our situation. But also like the pandemic has added to the restrictions and the rules, and so that's been hard. But honestly, no matter how much like kickback we've had from the pandemic and just like him being in tech school for an uber long amount of time, I feel like none of it's been bad. Like, it's things have been rough, but it's still been better than what we had before. Him not really having a career, and I think that would be something worth talking about at a later date, talking about like what made us decide to do this. But we feel a lot more stable and secure now in our lives. We have a lot less to worry about as far as like finances and things like that. So I feel like everything, like even the negative stuff the positives outweigh that. And I think it's just going to keep getting better as, time progresses and we're able to officially PCS and you're operational, which we're doing in a couple of months. So how do you feel about being almost to the finish line? Like right at the...
It feels good. It kind of almost feels like when you're in the desert and you see an oasis and like you see it, but you don't really feel like it's there.
It's like a mirage.
Yeah, like I see like the finish line, but I've been here so long, it just kind of feels like it's not gonna
like
gonna
it's
end.
like reality doesn't sink in until
Like
you're
it's
like right there.
Yeah, it's gonna sink in like once it happens, but
yeah. I mean, being somewhere so long, like a year long for him, a little less than a year for me, you begin to like, I mean, I feel like I settled in within the first month. I felt like I was home. We had all our stuff in the house. We had a routine. We kind of started to learn our area. You kind of settle in and you feel like this is life. And in the military, you're constantly having to remind yourself that this is temporary. Even if you're PCS somewhere, if you're deployed, if you're on a TDY, if you're on a remote tour, whatever you're doing, like everything's temporary. You're not stationed anywhere permanently. So for us, like especially being so short term here, you have to settle in for your sanity. You have to settle, because if you don't, then if you're ready to up and leave, that's going to be a long year for you. If you're negative, if you don't like the heat, you don't like your duty station, you don't like this, you don't like that, like it's going to be hard for you. So you have to make the best of it, and making the best of it is settling. Not settling, but like settling in, planting roots to some degree. And we're to that point where we're almost ready to uproot again. And I know most of you that, you know, have been in, like, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. When PCS time comes around, it's like, this is our home, this is our lives, but we're about to leave it and start all over again. And there's beauty in that, there's excitement in that, but there's a lot of stress and unknowns. But I think, like, for me, I'm just excited to be able to plant roots a bit more permanently. Like I said, nothing's permanent, but, you know, at least for a few more years at his duty station. And so I think, like, that's what I'm looking forward to. But I feel like, you know, we've talked before, and it seems like you're really ready to just start your job, like your career.
I am ready to be, like, actually in my job, because to be like a part of something for over a year and still be considered
New.
like in the training phase is really awkward.
Yeah.
Considering there's people on my flight that started their job like maybe
Months
15 days, not even a month after basic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm excited to see what's ahead. About what you were saying about, like, your outlook on things. You know, I think the positives definitely do outweigh the bads. I mean, there's going to be stuff that, like, gets on your nerves and makes you mad because, I mean, it's not perfect, you know, but
Yeah.
it definitely is better than our old scenario. It probably really is dependent too on where you're coming from, because there's a lot of there's a lot of people coming in that I guess it wasn't for them, you know, or I don't know what their scenario was previously, but it's just not
A good fit.
yeah, it's not a good fit for them. But I think
You have to be very fluid for this.
but I just think, like, all the benefits we got from it and everything.
Yeah, definitely. And we can't, you know, we're talking about our 1 year mark, and that, you know, has already come to pass. And so we can't include the PCS to the next duty station with this, because we haven't done it yet, and it's not going to be a part of our first year. But as we stand right now, we're in that season of wait. We're in that season of, like, okay, we're ready for the next step. And that's kind of where we leave off on this end of the first year. You know, we leave off in a place of, like, being eager to move on to the next step.
And, you know, it's kind of, I think, to me, it's just one of those things where it's going to be hard. If point A is me leaving on the plane for basic and point B is where I'm at now, I mean, it's gonna suck. I mean, it's not fun, but I think it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
I say this very unconfidently, but I would probably do it again if I had to, because I think the end result was worth it. But
10 out of 10 would do again. As of year one, we can say confidently that it was a good decision.
It was a great decision. And there's going to be moments where you're going to regret it, but if you just hang in there, it's going to fade. At least for us. I don't know about everybody, but
So yeah, I think that's pretty much all. This video is going to be a bit longer, but, you know, it's kind of hard to cover an entire year, and I'm sure there's a lot of details, you know, that we couldn't cover in a small video. But yeah, I think it's good to be able to look back at this as the years go on, and I think we can definitely end this year, your first year in a high note of, you know, even though we are still in a season of waiting, we're definitely seeing the other side of things. We're definitely seeing the finish line. So yeah, I feel very positive about what's to come, and I know you do too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Hey guys, that was all for today's video. Got a little creeper behind me. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. If you have any more military related questions that you'd like me or Josh to answer in future videos, definitely drop them in the comments and we'll be sure to get to those. And yeah, that was all for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Going this way.
You blow kisses?
I'm big.
You're big?